What's going on, my PT peeps and Walking Dead family? Welcome to the PT channel. I'm One Eye Bri, back to talk about The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 10, and some potential spoilers, big potential spoilers for this Sunday's episode, Season 9, Episode 10. Obviously, spoiler warning for the episode. If you don't want to know this information, stop watching now, but it looks to be a good episode. I'm excited, you're excited. Let's get to it. Now, the episode looks to be a hilltop and an alpha flashback episode. The episode opens with a flashback of young Lydia with her father, Frank, and Alpha in the early days of the outbreak. Frank is ranting about how long they've been there and tells Lydia that no one is coming to help. Alpha tries to calm him and then sings to Lydia. In the present, Lydia is telling Henry about this in the cell at Hilltop. Outside, Daryl is sitting by the window and listening to their conversation. Lydia says she remembers how cold look in her father's eyes is and quickly corrects to was. She says that she's never been alone because her people traveled in groups with the dead and she misses the sounds and the smell. Lydia tells Henry that his dad is an a-hole like hers and tries to trick him into revealing how many guards are posted at Hilltop, but Henry just explains that Daryl is not his dad and is only there as a favor to his second mom, Carol. He says his mom is tough and not somebody you want to mess with. Lydia says you don't want to mess with her mom either. And I had this awesome video with this thumbnail and AMC blocked it. So that's gone. I have some of the photos that are going around. I might make another video and try to go around that thing and just try to correct it. But ultimately, the opening looks pretty good. And it's a lot of alpha flashback with Lydia and then Lydia at Hilltop. And it covers exactly what I just talked about. So it's pretty spot on. In the woods, Tara leads Cal, Marco, Magna, Yumiko, Connie, and Kelly in search for Alden and Luke. They encounter a small group of walkers eating horses. Yumiko says to watch their hands. If they're not walkers, they could go for knives. They are being watched by whispers. After they kill the walkers, Marco realizes the horses were Alden and Luke's. Kelly tells them that the horses were cut open and skinned with knives. Tara realizes that Lydia lied about it just being her mother out there and decides they should head back until they find out what this is. In the cell at Hilltop, Henry offers Lydia an egg. She tells him to keep it and that hunger is a gift. She asks why he's being nice to her, and he says that he, his brother, and his dad were messed up when they were first found out there, and it took a lot of someone being nice to make things okay again. Lydia says it will never be okay again. Henry says, who? Lydia says, her dad. So the English kind of jumps around a little bit there, but you get a lot of the point. In the sneak peek clip that we had in the other video, you could see this group going out to find Alden and Luke. Tara leads the group pretty good, and she's like, nah, this ain't working out. Let's get back to Hilltop. You can see Henry and Lydia forming a relationship, a connection, but I do feel like Henry is giving up too much information to Lydia, and that's probably not a good thing. In another flashback, Frank wants to leave the shelter with other people because supplies are running out. Alpha argues that it's too dangerous and she doesn't want to orphan her kid. Lydia's dad tells her to grow a pair and to never suggest he doesn't care about his kid. Alpha says they're not going. Frank tells Lydia there's nothing to be hopeful for, and Alpha tries to play it off as a joke. Frank takes a pair of scissors and starts trimming his beard. He says he can't stand it and never could. Alpha was the one who liked it. He says the world's over and he's doing what he wants now. Alpha distracts Lydia with a game of checkers and says checkmate. Lydia smiles and says that's chess. In the cell at Hilltop, Lydia smiles at the memory and says he always, then corrects herself to she always said that. She asks Henry if it was his second mom that found him. He tells her it was his second dad, Ezekiel. He says that they're leaders of the kingdom, where he's from, and reveals it's a day's ride from Hilltop. Daryl bursts in and tells Henry he's getting out. And if you can remember, this is the second time that we're seeing a board game being played. We saw chess with the governor and Megan in season 4. Pretty interesting. Daryl takes Henry outside and yells at him for telling Lydia about the kingdom. Henry realizes Daryl was listening. Daryl reveals that he, Enid, and a few others have been switching off to listen to see what Lydia would say to him. Henry believes Lydia is a good person who got messed up out there. He tells Daryl that he's an a-hole, and if he wants answers to get them himself, Daryl goes back to Lydia's cell. She asks if he's there to kill her, but he offers her medicine for her ear. She keeps pulling on it like it hurts. Lydia refuses, and Daryl says he doesn't give a crap. It's up to her. He says 2 of their people are missing, and they found their horses half skinned and half eaten. Lydia says she doesn't know anything about it because she's been here. He asks if her mom would kill their people if she crossed them. Lydia says she would if she had to. So Daryl's not messing around. He's clearly involved with Henry and Lydia going forward, and I'm interested to see what happens with it. But Daryl's pissed. He knows that Henry was giving up too much information. In another flashback, Alpha smothers a man in the shelter who was panicking, saying he was weak and he would get them killed. Frank, now clean shaven, holds Lydia and comforts her, singing the same song Lydia said Alpha sang to her in the previous flashback. He looks scared and he keeps looking back at Alpha. In the cell at Hilltop, Lydia tells Daryl that her dad used to sing that song to her when she was scared. Daryl asks how old she was and she says 5 or 6. Daryl says her mom did what she had to do. He tosses the medicine into the cell when Lydia pulls at her ear again. Daryl tells Lydia that it doesn't have to be like that. There are a lot of good people at Hilltop who will help her if she helps them. Lydia asks for some water and Daryl holds the dipper up to the bars. Lydia tries to hit Daryl and he grabs her arm, revealing a lot of bruises. Daryl looks at her for a moment and then he leaves. And that's interesting. So I think Daryl is going to have a bonding moment with Lydia because of potential abuse, and Daryl knows about that. Alpha and Frank, we'll see what happens here, but we see Frank not look so good in the opening minutes, so we'll see what actually happens there. Magna and Yumiko argue about going back to search for Luke. Magna says she almost screwed things up for them in Alexandria, but they were given a second chance. She's concerned that if they go against Tara, they will lose everything, and Luke wouldn't want that. Yumiko is worried about Luke and keeps trying to convince her. Kelly reveals that she saw some kids sneak out of Hilltop and agrees with Yumiko that they should search for Luke. They take a vote and decide to leave that night. That night, Daryl returns to Lydia's cell with a birch branch. As he strips the leaves off, he talks about how some dads will use any excuse to beat the crap out of their kids, and they'll use whatever is laying around, like a good switch from a birch tree. Daryl tells Lydia that her dad sounds a lot like one of those dads, except the part where he sang to her when she was scared, and that's the only part of the story that didn't sound like BS. He says she knew what the branch was for when he came in, and the bruises on her arm are from a beating. He asks if her dad is dead, who gave them to her. She admits that her mom did it. So pretty interesting. We'll see what happens with Magna's group going out, but ultimately they go back to Hilltop. They don't find out it in Luke. And it's got to be tough because he's a member of your group and he could be in danger. We don't know what happens. Daryl tries to get her to reveal where her mom is. He asks why she's protecting her mom and says she's safer at Hilltop. Lydia says the world belongs to the dead now and her mom beats her for a reason. Daryl tells her that is BS, but Lydia says when you stay soft, people die. In another flashback, Alpha, now with her hair burnt off, is saying they need to get the body out before he starts to smell. The others vote to wait until morning when it's safer. Frank, now with a full beard, checks on Lydia and comforts her. When everyone is asleep, Lydia gets up and looks at the man's body. He turns and goes after Lydia. She screams and her dad rushes over to grab her and hands her to Alpha. The walker kills him and Alpha comforts Lydia. Daryl tells Lydia it wasn't her fault. She was just a little girl. She says she was stupid and deserved to die, but her dad was soft and now he's dead. Daryl says that's not true and they're making it better. Lydia tells Daryl that he doesn't belong with these people. He's more like her people than them. He's hard, they're soft. Daryl says she doesn't know crap about him. Lydia asks him to tell her, but Daryl leaves. So that's interesting. There's been a lot of word going around that Alpha kills Frank, but we just have to wait and see. Remember, Daryl was abused as well. We see the scars on his back from season 3 when he was fighting with Merle, and so Daryl might feel for Lydia, and that could be a connecting point. Magna's group uses the hidden log tunnel to sneak out of Hilltop. Yumiko keeps watch and enters the tunnel last. Daryl storms out of the cell entrance. Henry is sitting nearby, apparently listening to Daryl and Lydia's conversation, and says Daryl could have just asked him to help. Daryl keeps walking and Henry follows him. Daryl tells Henry that Lydia is too messed up and it's a waste of time. She's Tara's problem. Henry asks Daryl if someone used to beat him up too. Daryl doesn't answer. Henry tells him that he heard Carol telling Ezekiel that she used to keep her hair short because when it was long, her first husband would grab it. When she tried to get away, he would pull it and slam her against the wall, so she cut it all off, so he couldn't. Henry guesses that it took her a long time to feel safe again. He says that sometimes Daryl acts like one of those guys who slams people up against walls, but he doesn't believe that's it. He knows Lydia's people are bad, but he doesn't think Lydia's bad. He thinks she's just scared, and Daryl can show her that there's nothing to be afraid of. Daryl says, not just me. But can we trust Lydia? Dun dun dun. And so we got a little backstory of why Carol's hair was so short, and it's a shame. Ed was definitely terrible, and that's kind of a connection maybe with Carol and Alpha. I kind of hope so. In the woods, Magna's group finds a new set of tracks that could be from the Whispers. Yumiko seems upset, so Magna goes to talk to her. They talk about Coalport, and Yumiko feels guilty that they abandoned it. Magna and Kelly say they didn't have a choice. They had to run or they would have died like the others. Yumiko isn't so sure. They're interrupted when a walker attacks Kelly. After they kill it, they hear some walkers. Yumiko says she wants to help Luke, but this will get them killed. Magna and Connie agree. Connie says they will come back when they have a plan. Kelly tearfully says she remembers the last day at Coalport. She got separated and Luke found her. She can't leave him out there. Connie comforts her and tells the others to head back. She'll stay and talk to Kelly. They split up. Someone is watching them. Dun dun dun. So we get a little more backstory of Magna's group, which is kind of cool. I kind of want to know what other places they were at, a little more backstory of where they've been all this time. Pretty cool stuff. Henry goes to see Lydia. He tells her that Daryl doesn't know he's there. He likes her and thinks she's a good person. He wants to show her that Hilltop is a good place with good people. He unlocks her cell and says he's letting her out for a bit. They just have to be quiet and to stay out of sight. They both stumble and fall when they see someone. Henry says they should stay there until it's clear. Lydia eats a worm and gives one to Henry. Henry shows her around and Lydia asks how long it's been. Henry tells her it's been built up over 6 years. Lydia sees a hammer and picks it up behind her back, telling Henry that places like this aren't supposed to exist. Her mom said they couldn't. She's planning to attack Henry, but she hears a baby crying and sees the mother comforting it. She panics and has quick flashes of all the memories she previously shared, realizing that she reversed her dad and mom. She asks Henry to put her back in the cell. She asks Henry to stay with her, so he stretches out on the floor next to her cell and holds her hand. Oh, Henry and Lydia, little zombie apocalypse romance. You're giving too much to this girl, Henry. You just met her. We know it's puppy love. Don't be so dumb. The next morning, Daryl brings Lydia breakfast and catches Henry. He tells Daryl she didn't want to be alone. Lydia says her ear hurts and asks if Daryl still has the pills. Daryl gives her some water. Lydia tells them that her mom's not coming for her. When someone dies or gets taken, they move on like they never existed. She admits that she was trying to find out as much about them as she could, so when she escaped, she would have something to give them so they would take her back. Henry is shocked that Lydia's mom would abandon her. Daryl asks about their missing people. Lydia says if her mom found them, she can't think of any reason she'd keep them alive. She tells them where their camp was, but says they don't stay in one place for long. Henry asks if the story about her family was true. Lydia tells him she thought it was, but she had it all mixed up. Her mom told her over and over for years, but deep down she knew what her mom did. So man, how did it go down? How did Frank get taken out? Was it a walker? Was it Alpha? I can't wait to find out, and if this potential spoiler information is true. In a repeat of the flashback where Lydia was attacked by the walker, she remembers how it really happened. Another man was bitten by the walker and her dad saved her. During the chaos, Alpha starts prying boards off the windows and says they're leaving. Frank doesn't want to leave their friends, but Alpha says they're idiots they got stuck with and they're putting them in danger. Frank refuses to leave and says Lydia is staying with him. Alpha says the hell she is. Frank tells Lydia to wait for him while he checks the stairs. Alpha follows him and slams him against the wall with one hand over his mouth and the other over her lips to shush him. In the cell, Lydia cries and finishes the story. She says her mom got her knife and then breaks down. Daryl tells her it's okay. They heard enough. Lydia says she's sorry. She couldn't help and wasted their time. Daryl says she didn't and leaves. Magna and Yumiko make it back to Hilltop and see Tara at the guard post with binoculars. Yumiko tells Magna they need to talk to her. So I guess we finally find out that Alpha did take Frank out, and the shush is probably the beginning of the whispers. So man, it looks interesting. The Alpha backstory should be pretty great. Henry follows Daryl out of the cells and asks him why a mom would do that to their kid. Daryl tells him that some people ain't meant to be parents. Henry asks if Lydia can stay. Daryl says they'll see and tells Henry to get Lydia fresh clothes. He's going to talk to Tara about the camp. Henry tells Daryl that he's glad he and his mom are friends. Yumiko joins Tara on the guard post and apologizes for sneaking out. They look out, and Yumiko sees Kelly and Connie being escorted back to Hilltop by a couple of guards. Connie is a good distance behind Kelly and the guards. Tara tells Yumiko that the guards saw them sneak out and she wasn't taking any chances. She says that she gets it, but the next time they want to challenge one of her decisions, just come and talk to her about it. She doesn't know if she's doing the right thing, but she doesn't want any more people to die, and that includes Magna's group. Yumiko nods in agreement, but then spots a group of Whisperers approaching Hilltop. So the Whisperers are coming for Lydia, going to be led by Alpha most likely. But I have a question. Why is Connie so far away from Kelly and the guards? I mean, come on, that's just pretty dumb, right? But we'll see. The group looking out. Connie could be in danger. And what do you make of the Henry-Daryl dynamic? Do you like it? Do you think it's cheesy? Do you like Henry? Do you not? I kind of like it a little bit. We'll see where it goes, but Henry, Daryl, and Lydia are clearly connected this episode. Connie sees the Whispers through the gaps in the corn. Kelly sees them and tries to run to Connie, but the guards stop her. Connie waits for her to go and hides in the cornfield as the guards pull Kelly away. Tara sees the guards bring Kelly in through the gate safely and signals the other guard post. She calls out to Daryl and Magna below to join them on the guard post. Alpha marches through the group of Whisperers to stand in front of them at the gate. Daryl and Magna join Tara and Yumiko on the guard post and watch Alpha calls out, introducing herself and saying they only want one thing, my daughter. So again, we have to wait all episode to see the little introduction of Alpha to the group at the end. Connie is in danger. You can see the corn around her. This might be from episode 9/11, but Connie is stuck outside. So there you go, guys. That's the latest potential spoilers for episode 9-10. I'm excited. Hopefully you're excited. I think it's going to be a very good episode. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know your thoughts. Post your comments below. I think it's a good backstory of Alpha, and it needs to be told because not everybody knows Alpha. Not everybody knows what's going on here, and not everyone reads the comics. I do, so I know what's going on, but I'm very excited about the episode. Like I said before, like, share, subscribe, hit that subscribe button, become a valued member of our PT channel, Walking Dead family. And remember, guys, with hard work, dedication, belief, and sacrifice, you can truly achieve your goals. Believe in yourself. You can do it. It's about love, support, staying positive, making memories, and as always, tell them, Daryl.
Yo, we love you guys. Honestly, thank you.